G'day, my fellow media collectors. I'm Troy, and this is the Comic Book Movie Collector's Guide. And today we have, yes, the best and worst of 2024. What do you say we get into it? And yes, we have the best and worst of 2024, as by me and my good mate, Dell on Movies. Yes, that's right. This year I'm not doing it on my own. I brought my mate Dell in from Dell on Movies, and we both have our best and worst of 2024. It is a great episode. We had a blast going through stuff. He watched a little more than I did, but it was honestly it was an awesome time, and I really enjoyed it. And just before you watch the episode, just want to let you know I was having a little technical difficulty, so my sound isn't fantastic. I do apologise. I have rectified it, so next time we do something like this, it won't happen again. I've tried to fix it in post, but it just can't be done. But Dell sound, perfect. Me, a little echoey, and that's just through to just a bit of misadventure with the mixing board. So look, I do apologise for that, but if you can put that aside, it is a great episode. Definitely worth the watch, and yeah, I really enjoyed doing it, and so did Dell, and we just had a great time. So I'm pretty sure you will have a great time too. So what do you say we get into it? Dell, welcome back to the channel, mate.
Thanks for having me.
Mate, I am excited. We get to go through both of our worst and best of 2024. I usually do this on my own, but I thought this year I might do a little something a little different and invite you on, because I know you like to do a best of as well. So I thought, why not? Let's do one together.
Yeah, it was a great idea. So I'm so happy you invited me. I'm ready to get into it.
So am I. So am I. You, on the other hand, have binged way more than I. So we're definitely going to start with you. We'll start with your absolute worst, and we will go along, and I will throw in mine as we go along as well, and we'll eventually get to the best, which 2024 was an interesting year as far as films go, don't you reckon?
Yes, it was interesting. A lot of ups and downs. A lot of ups and downs here.
Yes, it was very much. I know with my list, there is like the bottom few and the top few, but there's nothing in between. It's either really good or just really shit. Like it was,
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that.
yeah, yeah,
I'm a little more gracious, so I gave some in the middle. But
yeah.
yeah, I understand totally.
I kind of, yeah. Usually my list, like you kind of gradually work up. Like one's a little better than the other, and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
But this year I found it's like this is massive gap in between the top few and the bottom few. There's nothing in the middle that's just sort of like, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But you, on the other hand, you've watched so much, so your list, you can have a little bit of the meat in the middle, shall we say?
Yeah, yeah. And my challenge was, since I watched a lot of it, or right at the end of the year, was that keeping it all from running together in my head. That was the big challenge.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I was a bit the same, because you started said to me your list, and you're like, I've watched this, this, and this. I'm like, oh, jam. All right. So I started binging a few there right at the end as well. So yeah, it's that having
Right.
those fresh in the memory, and the ones that you watched like at the start of the year is like, oh, okay, can I remember? Was that really that good or that bad, or you know? So
Yeah,
yeah,
it gets tough. It gets tough.
yeah, it does, it does, it does. Right, yeah, so mate, well, we're going to get into it, and we'll start with, like I said, what was your dead last? What was the worst movie you saw this year?
My dead last is probably no surprise. We talked a teeny tiny bit about it before we started recording, and that is Madam Web. That
Yes,
goes in the
that's
bottom spot.
that is as I I'll press the wrong button there. Technical difficulties, folks. Look at me.
It's all good.
I'm having a shocker already. Okay, so for you, there we go. Madam Web, we're putting that in there. And for me, Madam Web was absolute dead last for me as well.
Yeah,
I'm getting in early already. It was a, oh god, it was an absolute stinker, wasn't it? It was, Oh,
it was a mess. I mean, they had a lot of good ideas, but they never capitalized on them. And then the whole thing with nobody using their powers was a big miss. It was, yeah, it was.
exactly, exactly. That was one of my biggest gripes is that it isn't until the last two couple of minutes they're like, oh, we're superheroes. Like it's like,
Yeah,
what? Hang on, what?
yeah, exactly,
You know,
exactly.
like if they, I think there was like yeah, there was so much missed opportunity in that movie in the sense that like okay, Madam Web's a real deep cut for anyone who's any Spider-Man fan knows that's a bit of a deep cut to pull that off as a movie, but having some of the Spider Women in there was kind of like okay, that can save it a bit, but they're not showing them at like for what a couple of minutes I think it is like on screen at best.
Yeah, yeah, it's a while, and I'm gonna say this for me. I know you didn't like this movie as much as I did, Birds of Prey, but
Hmm.
I thought we were gonna get something more in line with Birds of Prey. I liked Birds of Prey, and we at least got to see the women what they were capable of throughout the movie. Whether you liked it or didn't like it, I think we can agree it's better than this.
Oh yeah, God, yeah, yeah. This is, I think this is a great example of why Sony should just let the Spider-Man license just run out and give it back to Marvel.
Yeah, yeah. Thank
You
goodness.
know, I saw a just give me I'll get I got this um, little thing here that I literally saw honestly probably 20 minutes before we hopped on. I had Instagram up and I saw this thing. It said that the outgoing Sony Pictures CEO Tony Vinciquerra, sorry, I butchered his last name, is still defending the film, saying it's the critics' fault that it failed and underperformed because they crucified it. He he's not acknowledging that the movie was absolutely terrible. He is saying it's the critics' fault. That's why it didn't succeed.
No, that's I hate that cop out. That's such a cop out. Make
That
a
is.
better movie, and
That's
people
right.
will show up.
Exactly. Like any successful movie is because it's a good movie and people come and see it. If it's a terrible movie, people won't go. Like I'm like you. I think the whole cop out of saying that because critics bagged it, everyone went,
Mhm.
"Oh, I'm not going." Like, no, people didn't go because it wasn't good. Like, people
Yeah,
talk to their
and
friends and go, "What do you see that?" Yeah, oh, it's terrible. I wouldn't go. You know what I mean?
exactly,
Like,
and in this modern era, critics don't have that power. This isn't,
that's right.
this isn't Siskel and Ebert times, and I love those guys, and they had a lot of power, but critics don't have that power now. Everybody, they at most people click on and see what the Rotten Tomato score is, at most, and then they still
Yep.
decide if they're going to go anyway based on the trailer. Most
The
people.
amount of people that you see on the internet go, I don't care what reviewers say or this, that, or the other, as much as everyone does watch reviewers, and hell, that's what we do here. We review things and stuff. But like,
Right.
no one's going to take our word for it, like to the sense of like, well, because Troy said it was a terrible movie, I'm not going. Like, I mean, I,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
everyone disagrees on what they think is a good movie or not. It all comes down to
And
personal opinion. So to
yeah,
say that,
and
like you said, that the internet's critics have that much pull to no, that's yeah, that is the
no,
biggest cop
no.
out ever.
At most, if somebody takes our word for it's 1 to 2 people, and that's not making a difference whether your movie's a bomb or not.
No,
It's
no,
making a difference.
that's not impacting the bottom line by any stretch of the imagination. That the $15 or whatever it is that we may affect.
Yeah, yeah, right.
These movies lost hundreds of millions of dollars. So yeah, yeah, that's absolute garbage. That is. I when I read it, I near spat me drink out. I'm like, you can't be serious. Like that's just he's just covering for himself. So yeah, like yeah, we made some great movies, but it was the critics' fault. Rubbish.
Yeah,
You made some shit movies. That's what it was. And
yeah,
this one is definitely at the bottom. I think just about. I've watched a couple of best ofs, uh, of like best of the years and stuff, and yeah, that's at the bottom of just about everyone's list. It's just, but
yeah. It
like,
deserves to be.
yeah, yeah, and the one person that I like, I am not a big fan of Dakota Johnson. I really don't think she can carry a film. She is. I know they used to make the joke about Brie Larson. There's that classic stormtrooper meme where it's like the nine faces of all the emotions of a stormtrooper. It's like it's the same photo over and over again, and they were doing that with Brie Larson. Well, I honestly think they can do that with Dakota Johnson because she's got the charisma of a fucking potato.
I, I've liked her in one movie, and it was definitely not a superhero movie. It was a horror movie. It was Suspiria, but everything else is like, you know what, y'all, you can keep Dakota Johnson. I don't really need her.
Yeah, I don't find her charismatic or she can act like it almost looked like she just didn't want to be there the whole time.
She definitely didn't want to do the press tour.
Yeah,
That was
yeah, oh, yeah, and
hilarious.
that showed too. Like, yeah, and was it oh, who was the blonde? Who's the blonde chick? Um, oh,
In the movie, I can't remember who was in this movie.
yeah, there's people screaming at the screens right now, going, "It's such and such." I can't think of a name. Um, yeah, she's a bit of the it girl at the moment. Like she was the Spider Woman 2, I forget what they call her, but she only did this so she can get funding for her actual film that she wanted to do, which became a success. And she was a bit the
Mhm.
same. She was bagging the movie out.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them did. They were just like, "Yeah, it's terrible. We just did it for the paycheck."
Yeah, and that's another thing. How I mean, the CEO you mentioned, he's gonna talk about the critics and blame them, but his own stars that were out there promoting the movie were telling everybody it was terrible. So
Yeah, that's not good. That's not what you want. You don't want your stars out there bagging it as well.
yeah,
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, that is definitely going to be on the bottom of everyone's list this year. I think. I tell you what, it is shocking. It is shocking.
yeah.
Okay, so that's an agreement on us. So right, how about your next one? What have you got next for your what would you call the second worst?
All right. So you asked me a question about the Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths. You asked me if I
Yes,
wanted to do it in parts or as a whole, and I
yeah,
chose in parts.
yeah.
And in parts, my next worst out of everything is going to be part two of that trilogy.
Part two.
Um,
Oh, the middle part. Ooh,
yeah, the middle part. It
yeah, there it is. There we go. We'll put that there on Dell's. Ooh, I'll get it
yeah,
right.
it the first one, I feel the first one is going to be kind of polarizing for people who've seen it. I get that. Some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it. But
Yeah.
this one is just so bland, and it changes focus from part one to part two. And
Mm.
I haven't read comic books in years, and so I'm only familiar with the Crisis on Infinite Earths through this trilogy, to be honest with you. So if you've read the comic,
Yeah.
I don't, you
I
probably
mean,
have a different take.
I'm the same. I haven't read. Oh God, I think I may have read one or two issues of the original Infinity Crisis back in the day, back in the '80s. But yeah, I was never. Oh, I was a. I probably read a bit more Marvel than I did DC at the time. So I knew of it. I know the concept of it.
Yeah,
I've seen stuff other Infinity Crisis because they love going back to this storyline. There must be just about any DC property has done it. I don't know
yeah,
how many
yeah, true,
times. Like the
true.
CW did it. Like they've done it in these. They've done it before. They've done it. Yeah, they're always doing it. And yeah, I was kind of thinking, right, 3 movies. Is that too much, or is that just enough to let the story breathe enough, or is it should they? I knew one wouldn't be enough, but is
Mhm.
3 too many? Do you reckon?
I think it's kind of a mixed bag. They probably it's one of those deals where they could probably cut the fat from each one and do two.
Yeah,
That's where I feel they should have wound up. But
yeah.
as it is, I think two is the least interesting of the three parts.
No, right. So two's more the filler.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. I'm planning on reviewing all 3 later on down the year myself because I'm quite keen to see it. But yeah, yeah. I mean, I thought, oh, this looks good. The fact that they're going to do it in 3 movies is like I said, it's not exactly a small story. You want time for it to breathe and
Mhm.
get into all those sort of details and stuff like that. So yeah, So
Yeah, and
two's the lull, you reckon?
we're running 90 plus minutes on each part. So you're talking,
Yeah.
4.5 hours for these three movies. I don't see why it couldn't be 1 3 hour or two movies total in that
Yes.
same hour and a half. So make
Yeah.
it 3 hours. And knowing DC, they're gonna eventually put it all in one master cut anyway, because that's what they do with the animated movies. No, they put them out in parts, and then later on they get the money grab and go, oh look, we made it in one giant cut. So
Well, yeah, from what I could, because like I said, when I asked you whether you wanted to do it as the separate or the full, yeah, I noticed that there is I don't know if it's a box set, like not necessarily a box set, but a pack that has the 3 DVDs in it, or whether it is like a big master cut or whatever, but it's got the whole trilogy, so you can either buy them individually, like I did and you did by the looks of it,
mhm.
or you can buy it as a trilogy, like a one-off box set sort of thing.
Yeah, I haven't seen that box set, but yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
surprised.
yeah. Oh, I've seen it on. I've only seen it online. I've never actually seen it in person. So I
Right.
don't know if that's coming or whatever. But yeah, cha-ching, trying to get get the extra money. But you know what?
Always.
We can't complain. At least DC's giving you something where Marvel's just like, yeah, you just get all get stuff.
Yeah. Marvel's funneling everything through Disney.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Okay, so what's next on your list?
I'm gonna say, okay, from here on out, I'm gonna say I didn't hate these. This is
Yep,
the section where I guess you would call my middle section.
yep,
These all kind of okay.
yep.
And at the bottom of that, I'm gonna go with Venom 3.
Oh yes, yes. I never I missed that at the movies. I was thinking of going to see it, but never got a chance to.
Or Venom the Last Dance, technically, I'm sorry.
That's it. Yeah,
Um,
Last Dance.
it's better than the Carnage or the one before it. I'll
Oh
say
yeah,
that.
yeah. Let There Be Carnage. Yeah,
Yeah, it's better than Let There Be Carnage. It's still kind of fun. Writing's kind of dumb, but it comes to a pretty good ending. Ends the trilogy in a pretty decent way.
yeah,
So I was okay with that. And Tom Hardy, he's the same as he was through all three movies, and that's fine.
yeah. I don't know. I I don't know. To me, it seemed like he was just phoning it in both. Like as they say, I haven't seen the third one, but the first two, I don't know. He just doesn't look like he wants to be there. Like he's just doing it because he has to. You know what I mean? Like, uh,
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
I kind of get that. You know what I mean? Like he's not like when you've seen Tom Hardy in some of the other roles he's done. He's a really good sort of what's it? Really takes on the roles that he does. And in this one, he just seems very meh. You know what I mean? Like,
For me, when I look at him in this, it's more of he's just working with what they give him, which isn't much.
yeah, true, very
That
true. I
that's
suppose you.
that's my take on him because yeah, I agree. He is a very good actor, and I've seen him be excellent in a lot of other things.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, here, like I said, he's fine. I didn't think he's like terrible, but I also think it's just kind of that's what he's got to work with.
Yeah, yeah. Like I'm not pegging him out and saying that he's terrible in these movies, but yeah, he's not spectacular either. It's just very bleh. You know what I mean? Just he seems to be very generic. That's probably the word I'm looking for. He just
Yeah,
comes
that's
across
probably
very
good.
generic.
Yes, that's probably good. A good way to put it.
Yeah, yeah. That's the way it feels to me. And the one thing that always bugs me with the Venom movies is no Spider-Man. Like the whole point of Venom is Spider-Man. Like anyone who's ever read any Spider-Man comics, and like I've got
That's
some of like the Venom Origins. I've got those McFarlane Spider-Man still. Like I don't collect comics anymore, but I've still got those because I know how much money they're worth. That's the whole point of Venom.
Yeah, that's my problem with all the Sony Spider-Man movies. All the
Yeah,
Sony, not Spider-Man movies, but all the Sony superhero movies, other than Into the Spider-Verse. Other than that, but all the other live action superhero movies have done. That's my problem. There's no Spider-Man, and they're trying to they take these villains and then they try to make them into heroes, and it doesn't always work, and then they rush the movies or they get bad writing, and it just doesn't work out. And now you have nowhere to go with these characters, so it was all for nothing.
Well, actually, that might lead into mine, because my next worst movie is one that you didn't have on your list, but I had the misfortune of going to the films and watching it, and that is Craven.
Yeah.
Speaking of these dog of movies, so I'm going to put that there as my second last. And yeah, exactly. This goes to your point, is that you taking Spider-Man villains and trying to turn them into heroes, and that's kind of what Craven is, this sort of anti-hero-ish type thing.
Yeah.
But the whole point of why, if you've read, I've actually got one of my prized possessions in my collections is the second appearance of Craven. I think it's issue 34. I think it was. And the whole point of Craven is that J. Jonah Jameson wants someone to get Spider-Man, so he gets the greatest hunter ever to take him out. That's his whole purpose. But they make him this sort of anti-hero-y type sort of thing. He's got daddy issues and all this sort of stuff. And yeah, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work for me. When you take out that main element, which is the reason they kind of exist, what their powers and all that type of stuff is set up for. When you take the protagonist away from the antagonist, it's like, where do you go with that? And that's why I think these movies fail, is because your key element is missing from all of these movies.
If they were independent characters of Spider-Man, it could work even if we knew they were villains.
Yep.
As long as it's fully, they're fully heroes. Whereas this, they kept trying to shoehorn in, like with the first two Venom movies, they kept trying to link it to Spider-Man. Like at some point, he's going to go and be the villain for Spider-Man. Well, why are we getting so attached to him as a hero here? Same thing. Even Madam Web. A lot of people don't know. She's a Spider-Man villain, and
that's right.
We're doing the same thing here. And Morbius, we did the same thing, and it's just it's not working.
No, well, and that's it. They because they're trying to squeeze every last drop out of the Spider-Man license they have and build this universe that they were trying. And luckily enough, it looks like Craven's put the nail in the coffin for them. And I can see why, because that was one thing actually that it's funny. You had the bad guy was Rhino, another one of Spider-Man's villains. So you had the two villains facing off as each other. Like you said, trying to shoehorn a villain into a hero role against another one of Spider-Man's villains. It's that's, to me, that didn't work. And I have to admit, I wasn't a fan of the robot Rhino in Amazing Spider-Man 2, even though you only saw him briefly. This is the closest we've got to the actual comic book Rhino, in a sense. But he didn't look great. Everyone was had references of some cheesy Power Rangers villain that apparently looked very similar.
Yeah, I didn't like him at all in that movie. I was like, what the hell is this? And Paul Giamatti's a great actor, but that was bad.
The robot Rhino was just I get why maybe they did that, because they're like, oh, a guy in a Rhino suit, that's kind of stupid. But hello, this is comic books. You've got a guy swinging around as a spider. What's wrong with that? You've taken that step. Why won't you take the other step?
Look, even if you go back to the X-Men movies and including the Deadpool movies, you got Juggernaut. It's not much different a character. You're just adding a horn basically to the character.
That's right. Yeah, and that's where I was kind of like, I had hopes, and then when I watched the movie, I'm like, well, it's better than the metal one. We'll go with that. But the one key thing I do want to mention about Craven is that me and my youngest daughter, Lucy, who usually goes to the superhero movies with me, we watched it, and then when the credits started rolling and lights go up, we look at each other and we both said, did you think AI wrote that? And I went, yeah, I think AI wrote that. I don't think anyone actually wrote this. I think they pumped it into Chat GBT and they let it write the script, because it felt so robotic and lifeless, and some of the lines you literally do, and these ones go, oh my god, did they just say that? And no one the actors didn't pull it up and go, no one speaks like this. Like,
Right. Right.
yeah, like there's this scene there where Craven's like, but I'm the best hunter in the world. Like, just, oh my God, just, yeah, okay, we get it. Like, we know what your premise is. You don't have to mention it to us as well. And it was so out of place and just so dumb. And I honestly, if I'd written some of them down, there was 100 lines like that through the whole movie where you just went, right, okay. The movie studios have just given up now.
Yeah.
But yeah, oh yeah, honestly, yeah, it was it's definitely one for the streamer. It's not. I wish I hadn't paid for it. All right, mate. So what's your next one?
My next one, we're still in that just kind of bland territory, and I'm gonna say Megamind versus the Doom Squad. That would be my next one.
Yeah, I suppose when you haven't got, I don't think Will Ferrell's not in this one, is he?
I believe he's still Megamind. It's
Oh, right.
It's the superhero. I believe Will Ferrell is still in it. Don't quote me on that. But the guy who played that character is not in it. The superhero character.
Oh, right. Yeah. Was that Brad Pitt in that one? Was it Brad Pitt?
I can't remember.
Oh, jeez, yeah, it's a while ago.
Yeah, it's a while. But yeah, that character's not in it. So we get a group of villains that we find out used to be the team that Megamind worked with before the first movie even. And
so it's like a prequel, is it? Or
no, it's not a prequel. Well, let me quick on the plot is, we pick up just a few days after the first movie, and
okay.
his old squad sees him on TV, and they're like, "Oh man, he's pulled the wool over everybody's eyes, so we're gonna break out and go meet up with him." And when they meet up with him, they want to do bad things, but now he's this changed guy, so he wants to. He wants to stop them, but he's trying to figure out how to do it without letting them know that he's actually a good guy and not a villain anymore. So that's the whole gist of the story.
Oh, okay.
And it's not bad, but it's not as good as the first. It's just kind of there. It's okay.
The sequels never are. It's that dreaded sequel.
Yeah,
it always happens. Always happens. Rightio. So Megamind's there. Rightio. Okay. What do we got next?
Next after that is pretty much the same kind of deal quality wise, and that's Despicable Me 4.
Yeah, and people are probably wondering why that qualifies. It's because the minions turn into superheroes in this one. Is that right?
They do, and Gru is a super villain technically.
Yeah, true.
That whole,
Yeah,
like Megamind, that worked.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm okay.
Yeah, because I looked at it on the list. I'm like, yeah, okay. And then I was like, oh yeah, well they all become superheroes. So yeah, I can see how that good. Well, at least that's what the internet says anyway.
Yeah. And that was it's more of Gru trying to be a good dad and trying to stop the latest supervillain that's popped up, and I mean it's fine. If you got little ones, and they're familiar with the minions and with the franchise, they'll like it. So I didn't hate it.
I've seen a couple of them, but that seems to be the premise each time, isn't it? That Gru just tries to be a good dad and change his evil ways.
Pretty much. And I think the first three all did it better than this one, even though this one's not terrible. But yeah, that's basically the premise of the franchise, and we just can continue it more of the same.
It just seems like it's just a vehicle for not necessarily Gru, but it's more just a vehicle for the minions more than anything.
Yeah. You talked about Chat GPT with Craven. This could have been a Chat GPT because it's basically here's Gru, here's the minions, here are the kids, go, and that's what it gave us.
Chat GPT, the lead writer in Hollywood at the moment. Oh, can you imagine that at the Oscars? And the Oscar for Best Writing goes to Chat GPT.
Yeah. That might happen one day, sadly, but yeah.
I reckon it's going to happen sooner than later. Oh dear, that's bad. That's bad. Okay, what have you got next, mate? What's next on your list?
Ooh, I'm gonna go here with this was a little tough. I'm gonna say Crisis on Infinite Earths 3,
Three, last
um,
one. Yep.
the last one. And again, this one, like, I still like it quite a bit better than part two. But it gave us a good finale to the story. It's just a little more fat on it than I would have liked. So yeah, it could have been chopped down, and parts
Yep.
of two could have been chopped down, and they could have been one part instead of
Yeah.
two
Instead of
parts.
yeah. I think maybe three might have just been too much in that sense.
Yeah, the way they played it is each part, it focuses on a different character, and I like what they did with Supergirl in this series.
Yep.
But as a whole, it just fell a little flat for me. For part three, fell a little flat. Part one, part two rather fell a lot flat.
Yeah, I think they had some high hopes for this, as they call it, the Tomorrowverse, because we had
Mhm.
the old. Uh, I think I went through one of my reviews where I think it was Apocalypse War was the end of that DC animated universe or whatever it was called, and then
Mhm.
this new stuff with I think it was Superman, the Man of Tomorrow came out. Um, that was the new Tomorrowverse, as they call it,
Yeah.
and I think those first few had, I was kind of like, "Ooh, this is they've kind of worked out what they're doing," because the other ones seemed a bit hit and miss here and there. They were trying for more of that continuity and stuff like that. But I was not a big fan of the Batman one. No, was it not Batman? Warworld. That's right, Justice League Warworld, which was
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
precursor to this one. Um, I think the first three quarters of the movie was great, and then the ending was just yeah. And I
That's
thought,
where I was. So I think overall I liked it a little bit better, but yeah, pretty much the same. It was the first. Most of the movie was going pretty good, and then the end kind of fell off a cliff.
it was those. It was the three sections of the three of the Trinity with their own stories, and you're like, oh, this is really cool. And then the end was just like, yeah, oh, that was a bit
Yeah.
disappointing. And which leads into Infinity Crisis, and which they was kind of like, okay, maybe they can pick it up from me.
Yeah.
Rightio. So, okay, what do you got next on the list?
All right. So next is going to be The Crow.
Crow. Here we go.
And
Yeah, get in there. There we go.
yeah, it would be
And
a lot lower, but the action is so good.
well, that's where I'm with you on this. As I did it again, I keep grabbing the wrong thing. I gotta stop. There we go. There we go. I'm putting The Crow as my number six. Yeah, six. Yeah, I'm the same. I've seen it at the bottom of a few people's lists as
Mhm.
well. Actually, better, like doing worse than your Madam Webs. But I'm with you. The action. It was very what did I write? Gore fest.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It's definitely a gore fest. Yes. Yes.
Holy Jesus! Yeah, I was a bit not taken back, but I was a bit surprised. Some of the very inventive deaths, shall we say,
Yes.
utilizing his
Yes.
skills where he couldn't die. Like without giving too much away, there was one part where he's got this katana through him, and like it's through his chest, and he's using that to kill people. He's falling on
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
until it's
Yeah.
like he's
It
taking
it
them out.
plays
And
it plays into my love of slasher films for sure. So I'm a big fan of slasher films, and this definitely plays into that. Like you
yeah.
said, some inventive deaths, and like I said, the action is just really good. The story is really bad, but I
Oh,
because of the action, I give it a pass over some of the other ones below it.
exactly. And I think for myself, that's where I sit with this one. Is that yeah, I think if I was basing it just off the story itself, I would probably put it lower because they completely miss the point of what The Crow is about. It's
Yeah.
mythology. and the bad guy was some guy possessed by the devil or a demon or something like that.
Yeah.
Like they completely, like, that's not the whole point of what this was about. And and you got the Crow cutting deals because of this and blah blah, and you just sort of like, this isn't. This is completely. You've cherry picked. They've literally cherry picked. Okay, the Crow can't die. He's got face paint, and he loves this chick. Right? Okay, there we go. That's all we need. Now we'll just write a completely different
Yeah.
story.
Now with the whole thing with the deals going on and him going back and forth, it felt a lot more like Constantine to me than the Crow.
I actually haven't seen Constantine. I've watched the cartoon stuff, but I've never actually watched the Keanu Reeves movie.
Yeah, and I mean, just the concept of the character, even just he's fighting, trying to stay out of hell, and all this stuff, and that's kind of what it felt like to me. I know there are some differences, but that's the feeling I got. It's just a same thing as well versus even the original Crow, just a lot gorier.
Yeah, well, that was another thing too that I saw in another review that I thought of myself when I saw it, was that the Crow, like the concept of the Crow is, like, at its core is that you have these two people who are in love. They both die. He comes back to redeem vengeance on these two, on him and his missus, who were innocents, as they call them. So it was all about getting that redemption, and he was only there to kill those guys. So
right,
the guys that killed his missus on Devil's Night or whatever it was called, he was only after that gang and the bad guy. But in this, he was just killing people left, right, and center. It didn't matter who you were.
yeah,
If you got on the road, you died. Like,
he was going
that
crazy.
completely just, to me, that just completely just threw the concept straight out the window.
It did, and it didn't have the atmosphere of the first movie either. It just felt like any other movie. You didn't get that. I mean, despite all the gore and all the action that's going on, you never get that that brooding tone that the first movie had, and
Exactly.
that was sorely missed in this
And
version.
that's part of that too. That was another part that I totally agree with you. I totally agree with the fact that it had that real dark gothic feel. That's what the comic will, and us who were around for the 90s, that was a whole thing, and like that comic book really captured that, and the movie captured that, and it was like, this movie doesn't. And I get they're trying to make it for a newer audience, but I don't know, it just feels like the soul of the movie is missing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. They just put all of their efforts into the action scenes, and with the story, they, like you said, they just kind of missed the point of the whole concept of the character and just came up with.
The one thing that I didn't like, that I thought was sorely missing, was the fact that his girlfriend, like, in the first movie, you don't really see much of Eric's missus in the first movie. Like, she's more of just flashbacks. Sets the scene and whatever else, but you get the sense of the love story they have, and they've been a couple for ages and stuff. In this movie, this guy meets her at a drug rehab, and then they have this binge session for a week on drugs and alcohol and sex, and apparently they're like this love. And you don't really know anyone after a week, especially on a drug-fueled sex thing.
I had the same thought watching the movie. I'm like, wait, we've been together for how many days, and his love is pure enough to do this now.
Exactly, and I counted it. I tried to count the days, and I put it at 7 to 8 days tops. From what I was taking notice,
I didn't even count that high.
Like, I gave, because they went away for a bit. Like, I give them a couple of days there, grace, but even still, 7 to 8 days tops, and you're telling me that they have this love that stretches eternity and all this. And they were drunk or high half the time. They probably didn't even know who they were with. Like,
exactly.
I just was like, that missed the point to me. Is like, and then that kind of comes into it, in the sense that, not that I'm ruining anything for anyone, even he goes, yeah, I didn't really love it that much. Oh, I'll make a deal anyway. Like even they even address the fact that his love isn't pure.
Right, right.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. The writing was just it was trash. So,
It's just
but
it's just taking a concept and just doing something completely different without actually doing any research on it.
yeah, yeah,
That's what
doing
it felt
something
like.
different for the sake of being different. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And you know what? The proof's in the pudding. That thing bombed bad. I don't
Hmm.
know who they were making it for, like what audience, like younger audience they thought they were going to make that for, because the guys like us who love the original, we're not going to like this at all.
No, yeah, yeah. And like I said, the only reason I give it a pass is because of the action, but I recognize all of the problems with it. It's
Yeah.
there are lots of them. So if people who like the original hate this movie, I completely understand.
Oh, totally. Right out, we'll bypass that one. What do we got next, mate? What's on your list?
Here's where I'm going to go with Hellboy the Crooked Man.
Yes, I was planning on having a look at that, but then when I saw who the director was, I gave it a hard pass.
Okay, I understand.
Yes. Yeah, no. If you know who the director is, which I've got it here in my notes, I'll just Mr. Brian Taylor, who was one half of the guys who directed Ghost Rider: Spirits of Vengeance.
Yeah, yeah,
That's all I need to say.
yeah. That is woo. That's a movie.
We'll just leave it at that.
I'll say this about it. It did a lot of interesting things, and I don't think it quite landed the plane at the end.
Yeah.
And it didn't have the budget to match its ambition,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
and it's definitely a horror movie more than The Crow. Crow's a bloody action movie, but Hellboy starts off like a regular superhero action movie, but it quickly turns into a horror movie. It's
Yeah.
basically what if Hellboy was in the Evil Dead? It's basically what it is.
Oh,
And
right. Okay.
yeah, because he winds up in the woods, and the open. There's this big train. He's on the train, and this big train crash because they're trying to stop this creature from getting off the train or escaping.
Yeah.
And then they wind up in the woods, and they wind up in this cabin kind of thing. And there's some couple of people they meet there, and yeah, it's the whole thing plays out like that. People are getting possessed left and right. Or this whole town is kind of possessed, this little town. So yeah, it feels like if you dropped Hellboy into the middle of an Evil Dead movie, and they kind of shoehorned a romance in there for no reason whatsoever. But as far as if you're a horror fan, it does a lot of interesting things with what's happening throughout the movie, and that's why I kind of liked it. I wouldn't say I loved it, and I could see people absolutely hating it and absolutely loving it. So I think this is going to be a polarizing, probably the most polarizing thing of this group of movies. Um, but yeah, if I don't blame you for giving it a pass, based on Ghost Rider 2.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of both of those the directors, and when I saw that, I'm like, because I think I was talking to you on Instagram, and I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to give that, and then I looked it up to rent it because it's not free yet. I
Yep.
looked at it, and I'm like, oh, that name looks familiar. Hang on a minute. Oh yeah, no. Okay, The Crow it is. I'll
Yeah,
watch that instead.
I honestly, I probably wasn't going to watch it for the same reason. It wasn't free, it wasn't streaming anywhere. But then when I
Yeah.
was just out in a store, I was like, oh, there's Hellboy the Crooked Man. I might as well grab that.
Yeah,
So
I saw that your latest haul video just recently. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, go check out Dell on Movies and watch his latest haul. Yeah, I saw that you picked it up, lucky bastard. I got to
yeah,
can't get it out here anywhere at the moment here in Oz. The joys of living on the other side of the world. Anyway,
yeah, it definitely would have benefited from having a bigger budget, but it just didn't.
yeah. Oh well, and I think this is they call it the second reboot because it sort of starts from his like in the 50s or something. It starts from his early adventures.
Mhm.
Yeah,
This movie,
yeah.
it,
I think I read
I
something
guess, but
like
they
that.
never really say what time period it is. At least I don't remember them saying, or
Oh, okay.
making it clear.
Because
It's
I
just kind of
think
like a one-off Hellboy story.
oh right, because they're like if I remember rightly from what I know, Hellboy was he gets discovered back in World War II, I think it was,
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
Nazis and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so I think yeah, I read something somewhere that said it was supposed to be like because the David Harbour one didn't really go too well, so then this is another reboot,
Yeah.
and it was supposed to be set in the 50s or 60s, and it's kind of like starting afresh, sort of like okay, this is his first adventure as Hellboy, sort of thing.
It might be, but they never really say that. They never really allude to it. And it's a pretty isolated story. I mean, they're just in this
Yeah.
almost ghost town of a village. And this is not, it definitely wasn't seen by enough people for this to be the reboot. So this, or to be a successful reboot, I should say.
Well,
So
here's a question for you. Like until I think it was released in the movies, I didn't even know this was existed. Like, did you hear about it prior to it like coming out to the theaters or on DVD? Like, I'd never heard anything at all.
no, I didn't hear anything. I when we started talking about doing this,
Hmm.
and I just kind of looked up superhero movies from 2024 like you did, and then I saw it, and then I saw it on a list. I was like, wait a minute, there's a Hellboy movie that came out this year, and one thing led to another.
Yeah, and I was a bit the same. Like I think I was looking up something similar, and yeah, and it's like Hellboy. When the hell did this come out? Like, you can't like they didn't have faith in it to promote it, or they didn't have the budget, or I don't know what. But yeah, it was almost like it was a secret. Like, oh, surprise! Here's
Yeah,
another Hellboy.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah,
where the hell did this come from? Yeah, yeah, it was a bit of a surprise, that's for sure. I thought
yeah.
I was the only one. I just didn't have my finger on the
No,
pulse. But,
no, I had no clue because before I wound up running into it at the store, I looked to see if it was streaming anywhere. And it was like, no, it's you got to pay for it on the stream. I'm like, if I'm gonna pay for it, I at least want to have it, own it. But so
yeah,
I didn't bother that. So I guess lucky
uh,
stars. I guess I bumped into it in the store.
yeah, yeah. I'll still have to look for it. Okay. So what do you got next on your list after Hellboy?
Here is where I go with uh Joker 2.
Oh, okay. I don't.
Um,
Oh, I haven't got it on the thing here.
you didn't have that one. Did I not put that one on my
No, I
list?
don't think you put it on your list. No, no, that's why I don't have a picture for it. Sorry.
Okay. Okay, we can still talk
Yeah, we
about
can
it.
still talk. Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, Joker 2, it's well, people are now aware it's a musical.
Did you see it at the theaters or did you
No,
stream
no,
it?
no, no. I saw it, I streamed it a few weeks back.
Oh,
Um,
right. Yeah.
and because I think it's on Max now.
All right.
And yes, I didn't make it to the theater, but I knew I wanted to see it, so I was gonna watch it. And it picks up, where the first movie left off. So Joker's is in an institution, and he's being evaluated to see if he's fit to stand trial.
Yep.
And the difference here is that Harley Quinn is not a psychiatrist or psychologist or whatever she's supposed to be. She's a fellow inmate
Yep.
in this place. And they meet, and you know, love ensues. Um I think first off, I know Lady Gaga is a world famous singer and all, and she's great at singing and all that. Joaquin Phoenix is not. So I think a lot of people got turned off by that. Then it's a superhero movie that's a musical, so people got turned off by that.
Yeah,
And then
I knew that'd be treacherous area to go. That one.
yeah, and then the other thing that's kind of hard probably for a lot of people is that it's a meta kind of musical, meaning that in a regular musical, the conceit is that just bursting into song while you're walking down the street is perfectly normal.
Yep.
Well, in this movie, when he burst into song, everybody else knows that this is weird. You're not supposed to just sing. And a lot of people, when they watch a musical, if they're gonna watch it, they're expected to be fully immersed in that world where everybody is in a musical. Well, here only the Joker and Harley Quinn are in a musical, and everybody else is just in the real world.
Oh, see
So
this. I remember talking about it on a video I did just briefly, and I think that was my biggest concern was like if you're going to do the musical, not necessarily like your classic musicals, West Side Story, Sound of Music, where like you said, it's people just burst into song and everyone else is like singing along like it's not out of the norm.
right.
Um, I would, I kind of envisioned that if they were going to do it, it had to be dream sequences, like.
So it kind of is. So it's like he'll burst into song, and then they'll make a whole musical number where it looks like everybody's involved.
Yeah.
Same thing with Harley Quinn. But then afterwards, after the number's over, it's very clear that everybody else joining in and singing and dancing was in his head or her head,
Oh,
and
right.
with their head combined, that was kind of their fantasy. And then everybody else, they're kind of like, what the hell is going on here? and and I I liked it for that because I'm into kind of a meta kind of thing, but I realize that a lot of people are going to look at that and roll their eyes and go, "This is trash." So I fully understand when people are like, "No, this was terrible." The other thing I really liked is that I mean, Phoenix is just good as the Joker.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
the
The style of Joker that he did for that movie.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
He's just good at that. The writing of the story failed him because it didn't have a direction like the first. I think it was an overcorrection for the first one. So people who didn't like the
yeah,
first one, they were like, we're glorifying an incel basically was the main
yeah,
concern.
yeah,
And this felt like an overcorrection for that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that was a problem with the story. So yeah, this is one of those where I could see anybody having it way at the bottom or telling me I'm crazy for having it even this high.
Yeah, I think the musical element was what I was worried about, considering what the initial story was all about, and then they go this route. It was like a complete 180, and you're like, that's really going to confuse audiences or put, like you said, put audiences off. And it's not hard to say that that's exactly what happened. And like it bombed something bad, like I didn't even
Mhm.
go to watch it. And I loved the first one. I thought the first one was great.
Yeah,
Um,
first one was really good.
yeah. And when I heard the musical element was in it, I like me and my daughter were kind of like, do you want to go see it? I mean, yeah, we'll just wait till it hits stream. And like, that's the kind of attitude we had about it. Like it just had nothing to. And Harley Quinn is actually one of Lucy's favorite characters, so I thought she'd love to go to that. But even she was just like, "Yeah, I don't think this is going to be what we think it's going to be."
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. It is whatever you think it's going to be. That if
It
you're
wasn't.
worried about a superhero or a supervillain musical, you should be.
Okay, mate. Right now, we'll leave the Joker in the dust. Rightio. So what's the next one you got?
um, I guess here is where I guess we get to the things that I really did like,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna go with my adventures with Superman. Season what was it? Season 2,
Yep. Season 2. That came out this year. There we go.
and I had a good time with this.
Yep.
I like. Actually, this is another place where I really liked what they did with the Supergirl character. They kind of she's just learning who Clark is, who Superman, her cousin
Okay.
is.
Yep.
And she's actually under the control of another person. I won't spoil it for anybody out there who wants to see it. She's under the control of another person who wants her to do his evil bidding, and
Yep.
basically they're trying to. It goes back to the whole Codex thing with like from Man of Steel. It goes back to that.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Codex, and that was a cool deal. And a lot of the episodes were just fun. The my one big issue with this series is that they're going for a younger Superman and Lois, but their behavior is almost too young. Like they're adults
Oh,
in the
right. Yeah.
series, but some of the things they do make you feel like they're teenagers.
Well, I was kind of getting that impression just from because I haven't watched it yet. I'm waiting to pick them up on DVD or Blu-ray, whatever I can get them on.
Mhm.
But just the the artwork, even just from that artwork that I've just put up there, which is for season 2, and some of the artwork I've seen, they look like teenagers.
Yeah, they do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But
like you kind
they're
of,
adults.
yeah, it just kind of gives off a, like you said, more of a kid vibe to it in a way.
Yeah, they're I mean they're working at the Daily Planet, and so they're fully into Metropolis and his life there. But yeah, they just still feels a little bit too kiddie, a little bit too immature for the characters that they're portraying. And you can kind of let it go with Clark and Lois, but Jimmy Olsen is just another whole ball of wax, and I think they really missed the boat on that character. But still, I still enjoyed the series.
Yeah, yeah. I am keen to see it. I'm keen to see, because this is like this whole part of this new James Gunn thing, where this is all part of the, apparently it's all part of the whole connected universe and all that type of
Yeah.
stuff. So yeah, hence I think the costume is very similar to the one in the movie that's coming out next year. So trying to tie it all in. But yeah, it sounds like they're just trying to cover their bases and get everyone in, kids and adults, to watch the thing, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I think that's what the deal is here.
Right, yeah, cool. Okay, what's next on your list?
I'm gonna go with Deadpool and Wolverine here.
Oh my god. You
Too
didn't
low,
just do that, did you? Oh my god.
too low, too high.
Too low. Jeez. Oh my god. Oh, I'm glad I'm in a seat. I'd fall over. Jeez. Oh,
All right. Well, for me, I
I'm gonna
honestly,
need defib. Oh, someone help me.
honestly, I think this is, well, one, I think I think it fell apart a little bit for me at the end, but it's really more of a testament to how much I like the other stuff
Yeah.
than this being bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I really
Okay.
liked it. I had a great time watching it.
Yeah. I've got it a little higher up the list.
Okay.
For me, I think we're getting into the pointy end of it now, so I can start throwing a few more of mine. I'm going to put X-Men 97 as my, like, this is, for me, this is my pointy end as far as good stuff goes. This is probably the lower end of the good stuff for me. And I binged it. I watched a couple episodes, had a few weeks, then I knew we had this episode coming up, and I just sat down and watched the whole rest of the season in one night. And I enjoyed it. I didn't mind it. I remember. I don't know about yourself, but I remember when the first season of the '90s X-Men came out, and this is about the time I was really just like obsessed with comics and whatever else. And me and my mates were like, "Oh my god, the X-Men's on TV! This is awesome!" Like, and yeah, I really enjoyed like that. I petered off after a bit because I'm not a big X-Men fan, but to see them on TV, it was great. And to watch this 97, they really managed to capture everything from the intro to the feel, the animation. They got a lot of the old voices back, and the guys who are doing newer voices are pretty close. Like, it just feels like they didn't stop. That 20, 30 years in between just didn't happen. Like, I got to take my hat off. They did a really good job.
They did. It's higher for me. I really enjoyed the series. Just everything you just said is perfect, and then the issues that they tackled throughout the series, a lot of them really spoke to me, and I thought they were handled really well. So it's higher up for me.
Yeah, I tell you what, they managed to smash through a lot of story too, like in the sense of
Mhm.
so much happened. And I couldn't get over the fact that they absolutely did not, like, everybody was on the table. Like, you could die at any moment. Just because
Yeah,
you were in the core group doesn't mean you were going to live. And I
that's
was
right.
like, whoa, okay.
That's right.
Like, yeah, and it really put the stakes up. All of a sudden, you were like, oh, okay, is this gonna? You just didn't know what was happening. Like, in that sense, like, all of a sudden you actually care a bit more because you're like, okay, this, maybe they're not coming back, or this one, you know what I mean? Like, it just putting that in there and knowing that no one was safe. Then all of a sudden it had your attention. You're like, ooh, what's going to happen next? You
Yeah,
weren't
exactly.
like, where like a lot of the classic stuff we used to know as kids is like you had your core group and nothing ever happened to them. It was
Happens,
always
yeah,
the side
yeah,
character, you know. Was it the old Star Trek analogy, like the old
yep,
red shirt, like
red shirts,
he's
yeah.
gone. And this is like, yep, everyone's on the table. Doesn't matter. You you can be gone at any second. So
Yeah.
I had to give my thumbs up to that. That was refreshing to see that they really wanted to explore some different stories, and that meant some characters had to perish to sort of explore that.
Oh yeah, everybody was on the table, just like you said.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Okay. Yeah, no, Deadpool's a little higher for me, and we'll get to that later.
okay.
Okay, what about you next? What do you got next?
Next, I'm gonna make a slight change here. I'm actually gonna put this one behind Deadpool, if it's
Okay, yep.
okay, and
Yep,
that
yeah, I
is
can do it.
yeah, Crisis on Infinite Earths 1.
Okie dokie. I'll
So
say that there.
that would be behind Deadpool, for me, actual Deadpool and Wolverine. So
Yep. Hang
but
on.
I did really enjoy this opening chapter of it,
Yep.
and it feels disjointed, but it's supposed to. This one's focused mostly on the Flash, and
Yep, yep,
he's bouncing back and forth through time, and he can't control it. So
yep.
he feels disjointed as a character. He feels discombobulated, but so do we as a viewer. So some people may not like it for that, but I thought it conveyed what the character was feeling very well, and I thought it was
Yeah,
done
okay.
well. I was intrigued all the way through it. So yeah, that's where I would put part 1 for me.
No, okay. No, well that's good. That's good. That's good for me. Like I said, I'm keen to watch it. One for me that you didn't have on your list that I'm going to put in is Batman, the Caped Crusader. Now, this one is another Bruce Timm effort, and I tell you what, I've only watched probably 3-4 episodes so far. There's 10 in the series. That 10 seems to be the go-to nowadays. But I love the take on it. It's literally the look, the feel, the vibe of classic Bob Kane, Bill Finger, 1940s Batman. Like,
Yeah.
he even looks like the original Batman with the long ears and the style. He's just and the little symbol and just the take on everything. It's like it has that Batman animated series vibe because it's Bruce Timm. Bruce Timm did it, but it's very gritty. It's a bit more of an adult take on it, I suppose, in that sense. And everything is very, how like with the Batman animated series, like it's kind of it has that illusion that it's based in the 40s, but there was technology and there was this and there was that. Like it kind of had the feel of the 40s, but it wasn't necessarily based in any time. This actually is based in the 40s because Batman's got like radio receivers and he's relying on his detective work as opposed to his special gadgets and stuff like that. And it's really good. Like I probably would have put it higher, but I haven't watched all of it yet. But yeah, it is a really good look. If you like a classic Batman, this is definitely
I'm
up your
messing
alley.
up your whole stream because I actually did watch this series, but I forgot to put it on my list. But here is probably where I would put it though. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
What you said about the
Yeah.
40s
No,
is a big thing for me. It it appears like it's in the 40s, but it's stands apart in time because of things like the technology and the way characters of different races and genders interact is different than it would be in the 40s. And but the look of it is
yeah.
still that. And yeah, it does away. It's like the animated series, but yeah, it does away with any pretenses of being for kids. Is what it does.
Yeah. Well, I did a little bit of research in the sense that I just wanted to check the timing of it, and it says that this show is based on Bill Finger and Bob Kane's 1940s comics. So it's set in the 1940s, so you won't see anything flashy or whatever else. But I love that aspect of like even like the I think the second episode with Clayface and stuff. like you've got those old school sort of 1940s movie stars and this
Yeah.
and that. Like it just and
Yeah.
like one of the guys is literally like a Boris Karloff character.
Yeah. Oh, they made
And
him even look like Boris Karloff.
yeah, I know, like straight away, I'm like, oh my god, that's Boris Karloff. Like, it's, yeah, and
Yeah.
like, and also the look of Clayface was kind of that sort of like those old school sort of Universal monster things with like the Phantom of the Opera and that type of stuff. But like, it just they really captured that whole 1940s aesthetic, and I thought that was just fantastic. It wasn't like ambiguous about where the time period. Like, it really sticks to okay, Batman isn't, you know, he doesn't have this super duper bloody plane or boat or this or that, or he's got all these futuristic gadgets or whatever else. Like he's
Right.
literally doing detective work, like
Yeah.
being that,
Yeah, he is.
you know.
Yeah. If you finish it
Yeah,
out, it's fantastic all the way through. Though I will say the Clayface episode is probably my favorite of the group.
yeah, that was pretty good. I really enjoyed that. I've every episode so far, and I even enjoyed like their take on Penguin. Penguin in this was a female, wasn't it was a
Yeah,
bloke.
that was fun.
Like, and she had two sons, and like it was
Yeah.
just they really and they do and noted they do a bit of the gender and race swap in this, like
Mhm.
Commissioner Gordon and Barbara Gordon,
Yeah.
Penguin. So they're really sort of mixing it up in that sense of like they're throwing a few different things around for a few different dynamics, like you said, because they're really encapsulating like what sort of the 40s was about and what actually was happening around then. The sort of that's what I don't know. It's just I think they really hit the mark on this Batman one. It's really good, worth a watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okie dokie. So rightio. So what's next on your list?
All right. Here's where I have. This is tough because these top few spots I've got are I mean, I think
I
they're
know.
all great quality. I'm gonna go with Watchmen chapter 2.
Chapter
I'm gonna go with
2.
Watchmen chapter 2.
Yep.
And then I'm just gonna tell you, Watchmen chapter 1 will be my next one.
Yep. Yep. We'll put that up. Yep.
Both parts are just fantastic. It it takes the movie, it takes the original Zack Snyder movie, of course, based on the graphic novel. It takes that and it adds a few different things into it, including it kind of weaves in Tales of the Black Freighter also. And
Oh yeah, because this is what I was going to ask: is like the story? Is it like a separate story from the original, like the graphic novel, or is this like a new take of the graphic novel?
it's a new take on the graphic novel with, you know, like I said, with Tales of the Black Freighter kind of woven into the fabric of the story, and the way they
Oh,
do
cool.
it works. When it first, and they don't do it like right off. It takes a while to get to that. It's like maybe 2/3 into the first chapter when they
Yep.
do it. And at first you're like, okay, what the hell is happening? Why are we all of a sudden doing this? But then as it progresses, you know, you figure if it just fits and it works, and it ties nicely into the present day story. Of course, it's still set in the 80s, just like
Yeah.
you know the graphic novel is, and a lot of that story is the same. I mean, you got the comedian who got murdered, and Rorschach is trying to figure out who did it, what's going on.
Yeah.
And you know the whole Dr. Manhattan deal. So a lot of that is
Oh, spoilers, mate. Spoilers. Stop the spoilers.
yeah. Well, I mean, if you've seen the one, I'm sorry. I just really enjoyed this. It was really
No,
good.
I'm just kidding because like I mean everyone knows that story. It's been out since the 80s, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
I really enjoyed that one. So yeah, I highly recommend checking out both chapters of Watchmen.
I'm keen. Yeah, I haven't seen it released out here in Australia yet. I've only seen it on Amazon in the States at the moment, so I'm waiting for the price to come down a bit before I can get my little grubby hands on it. But yeah, I'm definitely keen to see like this animated version of it and see what they do with it. But yeah, it sounds good. Sounds like the fact that they're intertwining the others and all that. Like yeah, I'm keen to give it a watch.
Yeah. I'm dying to see what you think of it when you finally see it. So
Yeah, no, I'm definitely keen to give it a watch. For me, let's see, what have I got? Okay, here we go. Okay, my next on my list is this is a bit of a get over there. God, one of these days is a there we go. Kite Man, hell yeah, that says it in the title. Honestly, do you ever watched the Harley Quinn series?
I've saw a couple of episodes of like season 1, I think.
Yeah, well, this is the spin-off from that. So the Harley Quinn show is pretty much Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy as the main two characters, and Poison Ivy had a romance with Kite Man of all people, and then she ended up breaking it off, and then Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy got together. Well, he's gone off with the Golden Glider, and they've bought a pub, and hilarity ensues, and it is honestly it is one of the funniest shows I've seen this year. It is
Okay.
hilarious. That no boundaries whatsoever. Like there's nudity, there's swearing, there's just honestly violence like you wouldn't believe. It is just balls to the wall. Everything's off. Yeah, they just go for it, and it's funny though. Even though the Kite Man and Golden Glider are your main characters, it's always as it is the supporting cast that just have the best bits, and one of them is Bane. The way they do Bane in this, he is hilarious. He is fantastic. I love how they do him. He's just it's hard to explain. You have to watch it. He's just such a different type of character, and yeah, it honestly there wasn't an episode that I didn't have a good chuckle or laugh in. Like, and that's rare these days because you think you've seen everything, but yeah, it was hilarious. Honestly, you really should check it out.
Yeah, it sounds like I need to. I need to go back to Harley Quinn because the few episodes I saw, I really liked. I really had a great time watching them, and I laughed all the way through those. But for whatever reason, I just never got around to continuing it. So I need to go back to that.
And that was Bane was like that in that series. He was that one of those secondary characters that would pop up and he'd have a few things to say and he'd be hilarious or whatever else or make it. And they've spun him off into this to be more of a main character. And yeah, he's just as good in this. Like, I think I saw somewhere that they're doing a Clayface one, which is another spin-off because Clayface is in the group with Harley Quinn, and he's hilarious in that too. So I'm like, they're really spinning these characters off, but I'm all for it because honestly, those cartoons are fantastic, and the fact that they don't, it's not for kids. I think it's it just takes it to another level. And then and that's it. It's a lot of great adult humor that you just get a chuckle out of. But yeah, definitely. Honestly, I can't recommend that show enough. It is hilarious, absolutely hilarious. Rightio. Okay, what is next on your list, mate? What do we got?
Ooh, oh man,
looking to the pointy end now.
Yeah, like these last few, I really enjoyed. I'm gonna go with the Penguin here.
The Penguin, yeah, I did want to watch that, but just yeah.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Colin Farrell. It's not my okay. This obviously Penguin's not my number one superhero thing this year from 2024, but Colin Farrell's performance is my favorite performance. He's amazing all the way through it. He takes, I mean, however good you thought he was in the Batman, he was that good or and better in the Penguin.
So did you like the Batman?
I did like the Batman.
Yes,
and I thought he was great. I thought he was great in it, but here he just takes it to another level. And the way they expand on this character, and it's a villain story done right. They never try to make him the hero. He's the Penguin. He's just the Penguin. And it's one of those things where they kind of play with your emotions because there's different points where you gain sympathy for him, then you lose it because he's a trash person, and you get it back, and it's and you're creeped out by him, and then you're rooting for him again, and it's the best version of the character that I've ever seen.
That's awesome. I love that.
And yeah, the only only small thing that was missing for me was because I mean it is set immediately in the aftermath of the Batman.
Yep.
Is that Batman doesn't have a presence at all. Um,
Okay.
they talk about him in the first episode. You know, this maniac flooded the city, blah blah blah, and then throughout the movie, he's almost never referenced until we get to towards the end, and I won't spoil how that happens, um, but yeah, but you don't miss him after the first episode. In the first episode, you might be going, "Well, where's Batman during all this?" But after that, you're so engrossed in the character and what he has going on and all the people around him that you just don't miss him. It's
I suppose
fantastic.
it's kind of like this is what happens when in between when you see Batman beating them up and this and that. This is all the in between stuff that you never actually get
Yeah,
to see.
yes, it is definitely that. It's definitely the in between the
Yeah.
Batman and the Batman 2 whenever we're gonna get that movie.
Oh, I think it's been pushed back again. I think the last I heard.
Yeah,
we'll
that's
get
what
it.
I've heard.
Yeah. Poor old Robert Pattinson will be in a wheelchair by the time I actually bring.
No kidding.
I mean, it was such a good, like, he was, for me, he was a big surprise. Like, I know he played more of a bit of a emo-y sort of character, but I really enjoyed it, and I reckon they really need to get back and strike while they're on top and get another one out there. I think they do pretty well with that Batman.
Yeah, he a lot of people were worried about him being cast in that role, and that's because they only knew him from Twilight.
Twilight, yep,
And
everyone does.
yeah,
Or
and
I think he was in Harry Potter, wasn't he? He was in Harry Potter too.
yeah, he
Couple
showed
of
up in Harry Potter, but
yeah,
everybody knows him from Twilight. And
yeah.
I saw him in a movie just before the Batman, a year or two before. I saw him in a movie called Good Time,
Yeah.
and that is a really good movie and really nerve-wracking movie. And when I saw that, and he was excellent in that movie, I was like, okay, I'm okay. He's I think he'll be a good Batman. It's not that character's a hero or anything, but you just
Yeah.
kind of get a different side of him. And
Yeah.
so I was glad with what he did with the character.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Okay, so we're down to the pointy end, mate. Our top 1 and 2. And I'll let you go first. What it comes in at your number 2?
My number 2 is gonna be The Boys.
The
The latest
Boys,
season of
yes.
The Boys.
I am a massive fan of The Boys, and I am kicking myself for not watching this season this year.
Oh,
I know. I've watched the others and loved. I think they've always been in my top 1 or 2 for the last few years. Yeah, and I'm kicking myself for not actually getting around to it this year,
yeah.
which I will. I've got to. But yeah. So tell me about it then.
This season, I mean, we get a couple of new characters in. And Homelander, of course, is just getting more unhinged as we go.
That's the beauty of this show. Is just
That
watching
is the
him just
beauty of these
becoming
shows.
more and more unhinged. Yeah.
Yeah, and Mother's Milk's got some things going on, and Carl Urban's character, who I'm drawing a blank on all of a sudden,
Butcher.
Yeah, he's got some things going on. It's just as fantastic as it's been. Some people complain because I think they went a little more overt with the commentary, social commentary. I mean, it's always been there in the series, but
Yeah, true.
here, but here it's a little harder to deny who the bad guys are supposed to represent. So
Yeah, no, I see. I've seen a little bits online and stuff like that. Like I know a bit of the story and where it was heading, and it's very much how can we put it? Homelander becoming a MAGA person, shall we say? I'll put it out there.
Absolutely. He and everybody who surrounds him is definitely the MAGA cult. And
they don't hide it. They don't
hide it. And
it's not like I said, from just the little bit I've seen, it just seems like they're putting it all up. They're like, there you go. This is, they're not afraid of it.
But within that, I mean, it's still good writing. It's still lots of twists and turns in what's going on with the story,
Yeah.
and definitely room for a season 5. So I'm hoping we get
Sweet.
one.
Yeah, no, I have to admit, it's been one of my favorite shows, The Boys. Honestly, it's and they don't necessarily follow the comics to the T, from what I
Mhm.
understand as well, which is good. So then there's like another version out there that you can enjoy. Um, and yeah, I have to admit, I'm kicking myself for not watching it by the time this comes around. I'll definitely be watching it at some stage. But yeah, like I said, usually for me, it's always in the top one or two because
Yeah,
it's the best show.
it's
Um,
amazing. Yeah.
for me, I am going to put at number 2 is the Creature Commandos, Mr. James Gunn's new uh, DC universe, one of the kickoff ones, and this thing is excellent. Honestly, I don't want to sound like I'm a big James Gunn fan, but
Mhm.
so far for me, he just can't put a foot wrong. And this Creature Commandos is excellent. And the same with this as it is with Kite Man. Everything's on the table. So there's sex scenes, there's nudity, there's violence, there's swearing, it is off the chain, just like you wouldn't believe. And it is just in your face, full on. It gets serious. There's action. You get your feels. You get honestly, it's just this bunch of tragic heroes that you. It's funny. Like there's one character, GI Robot, who his prime thing was he was built to kill Nazis. That's it. He was built in World War II to kill Nazis. That is it. There's nothing else to him. He is just this robot that kills Nazis. And he just constantly is asking, "Are these Nazis?" And then they would get, and sometimes like whatever bad guys they come across, like, yeah, they're Nazis. Oh, kill that! And then he just goes off and just
Wow.
obliterates them. But you watch there's an episode, you watch this poor robot's tragic story all the way through. Like they follow, and like me and my daughter are looking at each other going, "Oh, I got the feels for him." He goes, "Yeah, I know. He's just a robot." Like James Gunn just has this great ability to tell a tragic character story. Like we get a backstory on the Weasel from Suicide Squad, so we get his
Oh,
backstory,
okay.
and you're like, he's a misunderstood villain. The Bride of Frankenstein's in this. She's a misunderstood villain too. Like, like they're not necessarily not um, like bad people. They just had bad luck in that sense. It's he just does a really good job. You really uh, makes you emotionally invested in the characters, which I find is lacking in a lot of shows these days. They
Mhm.
You want to be invested, you want to follow these characters, and you do as much as these guys are supposed to be the bad guys, you're actually rooting for them. Like you're not sort of you kind of yeah. It's definitely, honestly, you should really give it a watch. It's definitely worth it. It's there. I was tussling between this and the top one for well, there's only a couple left, but yeah, I was really tussling between this and Deadpool and Wolverine as far as my top spot goes.
I'm gonna have to check it out. I saw a trailer for it, and I couldn't make heads or tails of it from the trailer that
Yeah,
I saw.
yeah. No, it's there's yeah the story itself, as far as why um the commandos are doing what they're doing, it almost seems very secondary in the sense that each episode seems to cover the backstory. Obviously, they're going to wind it up when it gets to the end because it's still currently going. So I think we're at episode 7 or 8 now. I think only just aired just recently. So there's still a couple of episodes to go before it finishes. But it feels like they've spent the whole show covering everyone's backstory, why they're there, what their motivations are. That we're getting to that payoff, I suppose, at the end of like what the purpose of why they're doing what they're doing is, sort of thing. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to watching the rest of it and seeing how this goes because this is if this is more things to come from Mr. Gunn, I've got some faith that he's going to pull it off with the DC universe.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
That is
yeah,
good to
yeah, definitely. Okay, and I suppose it comes down to the numero unos, and by the looks of it, we've only got a couple left, and you've gone with the X-Men, mate,
hear.
number one, and I've gone with Deadpool and Wolverine at number one. So
Yep.
X-Men, yeah, it was great. I loved it, but yeah, I think I just love some of these other ones just slightly better.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun time. I Deadpool and Wolverine. I laughed all the way through it. Like I said, just the end kind of tail it off a little bit. And for me, having it that low is really more about the other things just being really good. It wasn't about that
which
not.
which is great. Like when you think about it, this is like for yourself and me, this is our top movie of the year. I mean, you've got some other things in front, but they're all TV shows and cartoons. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm the same. Like all the movies, as far as cinema goes this year, it has been very slim pickings, I suppose. But it's
Mhm.
good to see that the TV shows seem to be the gems that will. When you look at our lists there, the TV shows seem to be the gems of the year.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're
TV
absolutely
shows
killing it.
definitely.
Yeah. Which sometimes I suppose it is like that. Sometimes you have those years where the movies are, there's always some killer movies, and the TV shows, not so much. But it's very much TV's year this year by the looks of it.
hmm hmm I think we're in a lull right now where studios are kind of trying to figure out which direction superheroes need to go. Superhero movies need to go.
Very much.
Um, yeah, because I mean, I guess Deadpool and Wolverine was supposed to be is supposed to kind of be an MCU reboot kind of thing. Um, we'll see how that goes. I know Fantastic Four is coming up soon, so
Yes.
hopefully that works out. And Superman is coming out. Honestly, I'm with you mostly on James Gunn, and I got really worried when that trailer came out the other day when I watched that trailer because I saw that damn dog, and I was, oh,
So what
no.
you? I was going to bring that up. I was going to bring up. I'm just finding my notes here because I was going to bring up the what was coming out next year and get your thoughts on that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm keen to see what you think. Here we go. Okay, so we'll put a pin in Superman. We'll start off. So come February 14th, we have Captain America: Brave New World.
hmm hmm
Ooh,
I,
ooh.
I'm I'm optimistic on that one only because I want to see what they do with the character, and I'm one of the few people who liked the Winter Soldier or Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Nah, you're not alone there. I did too. I enjoyed it.
So I'm curious to see what that's all about.
Yeah, um I think what we'll be lacking is in the sense that you won't have Bucky in this.
Right.
Um which I thought they would. That's what I loved about the Winter Soldier, Falcon, and the Winter Soldier. It was a very reluctant buddy cop sort of movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it
And
was.
and, and I felt that worked. Like by the end of it, they were besties and all that. Um, but yeah, now he's with the guy that they sort of teased in that series that's going to become the Falcon with him. Curious to see what their dynamic is. And then you've got the Red Hulk, which seems to be the selling point of the movie. That's the impression I'm getting is like,
Mhm.
oh, Red Hulk, Red Hulk, Red Hulk. So
And
yeah, if
and that's a deep cut for a lot of people too, Red Hulk. So
yeah,
I'm
that's right, that's right. Yeah,
very
yeah. But
curious
I
how they
think
do
we're
that.
really getting into those deep cuts now because they've burnt through a lot of I suppose,
The more mainstream known
yeah,
character.
more mainstreamy sort of stories that something like not so much that your average comic book reader, I suppose, would know, as opposed to say some of your hardcore ones. They're really starting to do, because they're trying to get that content, so it's down to the deep cut. So, which leads to in May too, we've got the Thunderbolts, another deep cut. Like
Yeah.
I remember when that comic first came out, actually, like the whole concept of the bad guys being a bunch of, but I think if I remember rightly, it was a bunch of bad guys pretending to be good guys to hatch a plot as bad guys or something, if I remember rightly.
Something
But
like
that's-
that. I'm not
it was-
I'm not real familiar with them either.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, again, I'll give it a shot.
Well, I have to admit, I really enjoyed the trailer. I thought it kind of looked good. Like, I like David Harbour's Red Guardian. I think he's
Yeah.
very much the comic relief.
Like he
And then
was
you-
in Elektra.
Yeah. So he's like that comic relief, and so you've kind of got a nice mix of characters there, and they're all trying to figure out who they are and what their purpose is, I suppose. But yeah, just from that trailer, I don't know. I'm probably more interested in the Thunderbolts than I am Captain America at the moment. But yeah, I think that could be that actually could be a bit of a surprise one. I reckon. I think that they might do all right with that one. Fingers crossed.
I've got to go watch that trailer. I haven't watched that trailer yet, so I've got to go check it out.
Yeah, honestly, check it out. And he is quite funny in that he has some great one-liners and stuff. Okay, so we'll take the pin out. Okay, Superman. Thoughts on the trailer? Which Ali just
So,
aired a
I
couple of
was it was looking really good, and then that dog showed up. I don't hate the dog. I don't hate.
Poor old Crypto. Come on, mate.
Whenever he shows up, I think it automatically, for me, at least in my mind, it's like, okay, now this is a kiddie show or kiddie movie. Whenever he pops up, so I'm struggling to figure out how they're gonna, make it not that, because everything else in the trailer is not that.
True.
And just having a super dog in this live action version feels kind of feels a little more goofy. But then I got to remind myself, it is Superman. We're talking about a guy who flies around and has all these amazing powers. So maybe I need to ease up a bit. So we'll see.
Yeah. Look, I understand where you're coming from, and I'm probably like, I'm with you in the sense that, yeah, okay, adding Crypto does, like, it's a dog wearing a cape. It's I know it's very much in the lines of the originals, like Superman cartoons and stuff like that. Hey, it's Crypto, Superboy, Crypto. This time, I understand with like a Superboy thing, maybe. Like, I get that. I'm not sure where James Gunn's going with this. And it seems to be, like you said, it's very split down the middle in the sense of, yeah, you get the people who are a bit like yourself, like, okay, that makes it a bit kiddie, that's a bit ridiculous. Or some people are like, no, this is awesome. And I have to admit, I'm a bit on the fence in the sense that I think if you take the Crypto part out of it, the movie looks good. Like, I'm curious to see how they do some of these other characters. I think Lex looks good. A lot of the characters look great. I know there was... some people were giving the Guy Gardner, like Nathan Fillion's Guy Gardner, a bit of a hard time, but then people were like, here's a photo of Guy Gardner. Here's Nathan Fillion. He pretty much looks the same. Like, I don't know where people are getting the idea that he looks goofy. That's the whole point. Like, Guy Gardner is supposed to be goofy, and Nathan Fillion, I think, will do a fantastic job, because I love him in just about anything he does.
Yeah, he's good. I like him.
He's great. Yeah, he just has that great comedic timing and stuff like that. The missus loves him in The Rookie. Have you ever seen that TV show, The Rookie?
My wife also loves The Rookie. Yes, I've seen that TV show.
Yeah, I've been forced to watch. I mean, I've watched it a few times.
Exactly. Yeah. It's one of those things where, if at night when we're getting ready for bed and The Rookie's on, it's like, we watching The Rookie tonight, huh? It's like
my missus has watched the whole series and started watching it again, and she's like, "Come on, you're going to watch it with me, and we'll start from scratch." Okay, here we go.
Wow.
Yeah, and she doesn't know any of Nathan Fillion's back catalog like I do of all the other stuff he's done, which is fantastic. Like, but yeah, she's just like, "Oh, he's so great in this. Like, he's such a good actor." Oh, like, you got no idea. But yeah. I mean, look, I'm keen. I'm keen for the new DC reboot, and I'm keen for the Superman and to see all the characters and stuff. And yeah, look, fingers crossed. Crypto isn't a huge part or whatever, but
Right,
they
right.
pull it off. Like, I think the crypto. Okay, how about this? What do you think of the look of the crypto? Because apparently that dog is James Gunn's adopted um,
I mean,
dog from the pound. Like,
yeah,
instead of like the classic sort of sleek looking dog, he's very much a sort of rough and tumble sort of mutt. I guess you
yeah,
could
yeah,
say.
yeah. I didn't mind that. I thought
Yeah,
he looked fine. It's just the whole concept of the character was like, here we go. Let's see what's happening. And
yeah, yeah,
but yeah, he looks fine.
yeah.
It's just a matter of now, are we going to get him in scenes flying around with Superman saving babies? What is going to happen here with this? So,
Go fetch.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I look. I get it, and I've got a bit of that as well. But yeah, I think I don't know. I put faith in Mr. Gunn. He hasn't let me
yeah.
down yet, so I'm going to put faith in him.
He's earned the benefit of the doubt for sure.
Yeah, we'll go with that for the time being. We'll see how it rolls.
Yeah,
And then of course later on, and this is funny. Like, so Superman's going to go. And I'm guessing this is because it's like your summertime, so this is the summer blockbusters. So Superman's 11th of July, and then Fantastic Four is 25th of July. So, ooh, almost going up head to head with each other in a sense.
yeah,
Like,
that's
that's
pretty
only a
close.
couple of weeks apart. Yeah.
Pretty close.
It's very close, actually. Like, they've spread the others out, but these pair are going to go up. But I suppose you've only got X amount of time in that. So, like they say, the summer blockbusters for you guys, like that middle of the year.
Yeah,
Um,
and movies are in a place now where it sounds really close, but it's not that close because most of these movies they're making all their money in the first 2 weeks anyway,
yeah, true.
and then
The
there's a big
cycle
part.
is so quick. Like,
Yeah,
by the time by the time Fantastic Four comes out, Superman will probably be on streaming by then. Like, the
right,
turnaround
right.
is so
Unless it's
quick.
unless it's just so great that people are still flocking to it.
Yeah,
Very few movies now where 4 or 5 weeks in they're still making a good
yeah.
amount of money. So
Well,
I
you remember back in
yeah.
the day. I'm sure you remember back in the day. Like,
Oh yeah.
like a movie would spend a month or two at the movie theater, and then you'd have to wait
Oh yeah.
6 to 7 months for it to hit VHS.
And some of those movies stayed in theaters for 6 months to a year.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's just such a different time in that sense.
Yeah.
Like, the turnover is so much quicker. Um, like, say for instance, Venom. I was just looking at then. Venom,
Yeah.
like that's not long being at the cinemas. You can rent it already but
Oh yeah.
mind you, $24 Australian.
Hmm.
That's garbage. I can go buy the DVD when it comes out for less than
Yeah.
that. I'm like,
It's
that's
turnaround time is
ridiculous.
crazy these
But yeah,
days.
I mean, it's literally hitting the streaming as quick as it finishes at the cinema. Like,
Oh
they're still
yeah.
trying to. It's
Yeah.
it's
And I
crazy to think of
I
that.
tell
Like,
people, yeah, the times are so different. I tell people like, Superman the movie, the Christopher Reeves
yeah,
came out in 1978. That was one of my first movie theater experiences that I really vividly remember.
yeah,
And it came out in 1978. I don't even know if I saw it in 1978. It might have been 79
yeah,
because it was in the theaters so long, and that
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
happen anymore.
Well, that's it. I remember. I think the last movie I remember that was in the theaters for any sort of really extended time, I think, is going back to probably, like, for myself. I'm not saying this is what I remember. Is maybe Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. I remember when that came out.
Mhm.
Um, I think I've seen that. I'm a bit of a Star Wars fan. Loved it. Um, and because it was the first bit of new content for ages, me and my mates went a couple of times, and then I remember us going to see it one of the last times it was there, and they were promoting it. This is the last week it's here, and it had been in cinemas for like 3 or 4 months, like, and that was
Yeah,
'99, and that's the
yeah.
last time I can really remember a movie like staying in theaters for ages. Where
And
now, yeah,
I don't remember how long it was in theaters, but the first Avatar was in theaters for quite a while too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think I'm not really into the Avatar, so I never took much notice. But for myself, that was probably the last one I remember. I'm not saying that
Mhm.
yeah, there's
Yeah,
probably
yeah, no, I get it, I get it. But
yeah,
for me, I think the first Avatar was the last one I remember being in the theaters for a really extended amount of time, and
yeah, yeah.
honestly, I don't think you're missing anything, but
I've
people love
watched the
them.
Avatar. I watched it when it came out on DVD, but I'm just I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of it. It wasn't my jam.
No, me neither. I actually have them because my wife's a big fan of both of them, but
Uh,
I couldn't care. So,
so anyway, we'll quickly go back. So Fantastic Four. What's your thoughts on the Fantastic Four? You
I'm
digging it? You
I'm
grooving it,
kind of
or
excited for the Fantastic Four, um, because we've got so many bad or blah Fantastic Four movies. I'm like, okay, well now Marvel has it, so it's home. Let's see what they actually do with it. Because I'm of the mind that the best Fantastic Four movie ever made was The Incredibles. So, so hopefully this is better than that.
that? You know what? I never thought of that, but you're bloody right. Yeah, that's so true. But yeah, I think well, there's probably two edges to this sword that I'm of the opinion is, yep, it's great. Marvel have got it back. Marvel are going to do it right, and that's what everyone's hoping for. Is it going to live up to that hype? Are they going to do it justice? Are they going to be able to do what people want them to do? Are the expectations too high? Mind you, the previous movies have set the bar pretty low, so you don't have to
Yeah,
worry.
yeah,
They don't have to do too much to get over it. But then the anticipation of what are they going to do with it? Are they really going to escalate it to the heights that we've been waiting for, or are they
yeah,
just,
yeah. So
you know,
I got a question for you then.
yeah,
So for the MCU going forward,
right?
is it time to abandon the whole multiverse deal?
Oh, oh, yeah. I was going to swear again. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like, I am multiversed out. I think everyone is, and I can understand them doing it once or twice to maybe do a reset. Like, the whole, I think, like when, I think Loki season 2 was about him bringing the multiverses back together or blah, blah,
Mhm.
whatever. I never actually watched that season. But, yeah, like, let's tie it up. Let's get that finished. Like, we've had our little nostalgia bait movies like Spider Man and Multiverse and all these things. Yeah, that's all great. The Doctor Strange one and that. But yeah, yeah, done. Time to put that to bed. We need to come up with something else. And hopefully, I think this Fantastic Four is supposed to be set in the 60s, I think.
I think so.
So maybe this could be like a bit of a rebooty type sort of thing. I don't know. But then you still got Thunderbolts and Captain America still continuing with the ongoing story. So I don't know. I don't know how the Fantastic Four are going to fit into that, whether they're going to time
Yeah,
travel or something, or
I don't know how they're going to do it. You mentioned Loki season 2. That would have been a great place to end the whole multiverse deal.
exactly,
It should have
exactly.
ended there. If and when you do see season 2, you'll understand even better why I say that. Honestly, I also think it's probably time to stop making every story tie into the MCU. Some one-off stories would be
Yeah,
fine. Everything doesn't have to match up because I think they fall into the trap of now we got to set Easter eggs for everything else that's coming up and or explain things that happened in other movies, and then
yeah,
you got to keep up with the TV shows at the same time. I think it's time to just okay, yeah, we want to keep making superhero movies, but we're making one-off stories where we can move past this. Infinity War really should have been. I mean, not Infinity War. Endgame should have been the end of that. Should have been.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we're done.
Well, like I guess, would you class Deadpool and Wolverine as the last multiverse movie? Hopefully, like because they finally dragged them out of the Fox universe into the Marvel
Yeah,
universe now.
yeah,
So that's it, done. Close the door, dusted. That's it. We're finished now. No more multiverse. Let's pop that to bed.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Fingers
now that we,
crossed. Hope so.
yeah, well, let's. I think it's still got time to mess it up. You never know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Always time to mess it up.
Oh dear. Oh well, we're nearly at the 2 hour mark, mate. I can't believe we've been going for that long. Jeez.
Hey, when you're enjoying what you're talking about, it goes quick.
I'm sure yeah, we could probably talk for another hour or two.
Oh yeah.
But this poor old thing won't let me go any further. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on, Dell. I really appreciate it, mate. I've had a blast catching up with you and catching up on superhero content as we always do. It's absolute pleasure having you on.
It was my pleasure to be here. Yeah, just talk superhero stuff is just right up my alley. So I had a ball doing that. Sorry I messed up your list because I left a few off mine. But
It's all good. It's
but
all good, mate. Yeah, this isn't any professional run show. So that's
but yeah, we
that's
gotta we
great.
gotta definitely get together again and do
Oh,
some more
mate,
stuff.
we have to do this a little bit more often. I will
Yeah,
definitely get you back on the show, or I'll jump back on one of your shows hopefully soon. And
absolutely.
I put it to you. Would you like to do this again next year?
Oh, definitely. I'll try to
Sweet.
watch things throughout the year and not binge them all at once at the end of the year. So
Same here. Hopefully, I'm just looking at this going, yeah, I'm going to have to catch up with you.
yeah,
So cool. We'll put a pin in that. We'll definitely do this again next year, but we'll definitely catch up sooner. Yeah, if you haven't subscribed to Dell, go check him out on Dell on Movies. He's got a great channel over there. He does reviews, he does hauls, he does all different types of stuff. He does a whole other thing than I do. And he does a great one called Movie Swap, which I've been on before and enjoyed thoroughly. You definitely should check it out. Have you got any movie swaps coming up soon, mate? Or
I'm trying to line some up, so maybe before the end of the month, but nothing concrete yet.
okay, right now we'll go check out Dell and subscribe and get ready for them. They're always great to watch. I try and watch them when I can, because they when you do your live streams, I'm at work at lunch
Right.
sometimes, so I can duck in for a minute while I'm having lunch, watch a little bit, and then I'm out. I don't actually get a
Yeah,
chance.
don't get fired on my account.
So anyway, we'll wrap it up there. So thank you very much, Dell. Thanks for coming on again. And that's it. That is the best and worst of 2024.
All right.
So there you have it. We both picked something different as our best for 2024. I honestly thought we were going to pick the same thing. How wrong am I? But that is half the fun. As much as me and Dell do think alike on a lot of things, we do differ on some things. But then he watched a lot more than I did, so he had a bit more to choose from. Anyway, I just want to thank Dell for coming on the show. Thanks so much, mate. I really appreciate it. We had such a blast. We're going to do it again next year. So for 2025, we're both going to come together and do our best of 2025 episode. So looking forward to that, because there's going to be some great movies and TV shows out this year. So I just got to make sure I watch them all. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Sorry about the problem with the sound, but I'm sure I will make sure it is right next time. Hey, if you like this episode and you want to see some more of my collection updates, why don't you click that one there? Oh, maybe you want to see some of my reviews. Got you covered too. Click that one there. And of course, don't forget to do the most important thing. Throw me a like, and don't forget to hit that subscription button on the way out. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.